date night does not necessarily mean we're going to have sex night. And
Absolutely.
that is something that the men out there, you need to understand. Like, that doesn't mean we're just going to hang out and then have sex later. Like that, it might come to that, but that's not the expectation.
Yeah, but if that is what somebody is seeking,
and all that I usually see is people will post date your spouse when they're on like vacation together
or somebody for just a very long time. You have to go back to, well, what brought the two of you together?
Sure.
No matter.
I don't think that you need to have those special events built out to just date your spouse. So you get a little less direction with me.
It's kind of a go back to basics, right?
Yeah,
it just don't overthink something. Sometimes it's literally like, go to the library and sit in the quiet, or go to the bookstore, go grocery shopping together, whatever it is. Sometimes if it's
welcome back to the Prime Podcast, coming to you from Legacy Life Media Studios. I have the fabulous Dr. Julie with me today, my amazing wife, my incredible spouse. Just can't do what we do without you, Julie. I think you know that by now.
Thank you.
How are you today?
I'm good.
Yeah, you look really pretty today. We're both rolling with the black, except I brought a little bit more color. You got matching colors.
But I got my
animal your colorful
prints on. I always have
sleeves.
animal flair, but I got snakeskin pants. I got cheetah on
my
my shoes.
Snakeskin pants. Yes, you do. Dr. Julie, we get a lot of questions, you guys. The last few episodes have been on health and nutrition, but the first two were on communication, love languages, and we got a lot of response from a lot of people about that. And just comments back and forth on how to better communicate with their spouse and how to basically talk to one another on a very, very loving basis. Like being able to communicate without communicating. Body language, things like that.
Whenever you said that, I always think of the Little Mermaid.
Right? Well, with Ursula, right?
Yep.
Yeah, well, she's got a lot of body language. She has a lot of tentacles.
Yeah.
So she's got 8. That makes me nervous. But one of the things that a lot of people talk about out there, and including you all, is dating a spouse. Dating your spouse. You see this a lot in the entrepreneurial world. You don't see this as much in families that kind of do more of a 9-to-5 type work hours. But I think they should.
Absolutely.
Is dating your spouse. And it kind of gets over romanticized. It's one of those things that people talk about, at times get envious of other people doing it because they don't have time to date their spouse. And I think that people look at it as, instead of it being just time with each other, they look at it as it has to be some masterful, huge event, almost like dating in high school or college. You know what I mean?
I think we just need to go back to what it was like before you were actually like an official couple, or if you're married, maybe you've been with a partner or somebody for just a very long time. You have to go back to, well, what brought the two of you together?
Sure.
No matter what thing that we do for a profession or for work, we all need to have, like, here comes that word, balance. We need to be able to have certain things within our day for us to be able to be fulfilled. And yes, it's a common word within the entrepreneurial space, but the people that are working a 9-to-5, and say it's a stay-at-home mom or it's a stay-at-home dad, those couples need this time for dating, I think almost more importantly than some of the other people. Because I saw a post the other day of, if you would hire a cook for your home, you'd hire a nanny to watch your children, you hire a cleaner to clean your home, those all have costs. Those all have an expense that somebody's choosing to have to be able to free up more time for that person. And meanwhile, if you are a stay-at-home mom or a stay-at-home dad, let's just assume those titles are placed on you and you're not getting physical money in return.
Yeah, so it's like you're taking on all these roles of your house, but not getting paid for them.
And that's where it's false, that it's shouldn't be considered a paid role. But if you think of that if you're a stay-at-home mom or stay-at-home dad, like, you're an entrepreneur, right? So
Right.
you need this time just as much as anybody else to be able to go back and to date someone.
Yep. I think it's what I do find interesting, and you're 100% correct with taking time to date each other. And all that I usually see is people will post date your spouse when they're on like vacation together, or they've went to an event, or they've went to like a charity gala or something like that. And yes and no. Like, I don't think that you need to have those special events built out to just date your spouse. So I got 5 points, 5 questions here that I want to go down with you, because number one is, why is it important to date your spouse?
Because of the world that we live in, it's so easy to get swept up in social media, politics, even like religion, but just in the day-to-day of the world. And when we start to prioritize everything else before that relationship, that's when stress and struggles. And I mean, it's very common that if there's ever any time of stress or struggle within a business, it's always a relationship issue first.
Yeah, like business problems are relationship problems in disguise. I think that if you work for somebody, you having relationship issues at home floods over into your personal life at work. That's a huge thing. And I think it's important. The big thing is reconnection. And it's to have that connection and that check-in once a week, twice a week, however it is, whatever you need for time, because that, to me, it's the point of it is to reconnect. That's the absolute point. And to get back on basis of what we're doing that week. And it's not like a business check-in, okay? But it's understanding where your relationship partner is at that point.
Well, I think that, I mean, this goes back to our other podcast of like the love languages. And that's where some people within a relationship needs this so much more than the other person.
Yep.
But it's realizing and understanding that if it's, a 15-minute window, if it's, a 4 hour block, time out of the week, if it's a certain day of the week that this is okay, this is this time that's structured. It needs to be structured within your schedule. It's not oh yeah, I didn't get to do it this week. Like, this is
it's a needed thing. It's a necessity.
Yeah, it's a non-negotiable.
Yeah, it's a check-in. And that segues into my next point. I think the first point of this, to date your spouse, I look at as just spending time with them, is to reconnect and check in and get back on a one-on-one basis, right? And that one-to-one contact. Number two is then how often should you date your spouse? How often should you be setting time aside a week to actually do this?
I think at a minimum, at least one time a week.
Sure.
Again, once then it becomes routine. I think anything, if it's every 2 weeks, I think it's so easy to just push it off, and then it gets forgotten. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, we haven't done this for a month. So I think, start with at least once a week. And again, it can be something small. Like, I'm sure we'll maybe cover that, but it doesn't have to be this big extravagant thing each time.
Yep.
But
you can cover that.
It has to be at least once a week. And I know, like, when we were first starting off in our business, like, the business was the primary, but our very first coach said, well, how can you constantly give to everybody else if you're not giving to yourself?
Yep.
And that was so freeing in that of like, well, what are you guys doing for a date night? For somebody else to say, yes, this is important. This needs to be part of your business plan, because ultimately, if you two are in business together, you need to have that relationship plan as well.
Well, and I think that comes back to date night does not necessarily mean we're going to have sex night. And
Absolutely.
That is something that the men out there, you need to understand. Like, that doesn't mean we're just going to hang out and then have sex later. Like that, it might come to that, but that's not the expectation.
Yeah, but if that is what somebody is seeking, and it can go both ways, if that is what is somebody seeking, I can guarantee you that if you go back and you start dating, it doesn't have to be date night. It could be date day. It could be, if you're both early risers, maybe you go and you get a coffee together, or maybe you go out and you do a walk before the kids are up. Like, everybody, it has to be like a nighttime thing, and you have to pay to get a sitter. That could be farther, so if we go back to that, we didn't, we were new to the area. We didn't know anybody. So we weren't going to have a babysitter, but we would put the kids to bed and we had already ordered takeout or we got something. And so we always had dinner and then we would watch a movie, or we would just have dinner and then we would
discuss,
converse, we would
discuss. And that's it. Expectations, number one, need to be laid out as to what, in your mind, what that's going to result in. I think that intercourse or sexual relationship in a relationship is extremely strong, is extremely important, but doesn't have to be the resultant of every date day. Doesn't have to be the resultant of just and that's what sometimes too is people, they blow this thing up. They put a lot of pressure on themselves. They do a lot of things and it doesn't need to be like that. It just needs to be kind of like this podcast at times. It's planned out, but it's very, I don't know, spontaneous, and you get a little, you get a little less direction with me.
It's kind of a go back to basics, right?
Yeah,
it just don't overthink something. Sometimes it's literally go to the library and sit in the quiet, or go to the bookstore, go grocery shopping together, whatever it is. Sometimes if that person is that physical touch or just time together, it can be that simple.
So since we're segueing into that, so now we know how often, at least once a week, take the time, and it can't be on a weekend. It can't be on a weekend. Weekend is for family. That is one thing that we really try to implement in our business and our strategies, and it can be for anyone, is weekends are for family. You can't have your date time, your date day, or whatever you want to call it, your date hour on the weekend, because family's always involved, whether it's with your children, whether it's with your extended family, whether it's with, and I'm going to get into that about having your children around. Family comes on the weekends. So during the week, you have to have it, whether it's a night or something like that, for you to check in. Now, what are some simple things that people can do to increase this date time? Number one, I think that I really like doing is just getting a cup of coffee with you, going somewhere for an hour and a half.
We did that on
Friday. And it was great though,
yes.
Because we sat in the sunshine at the coffee shop here in town. We went to Taza in De Pere, sat there, talked about a few things, looked at some hotel room stuff coming up for a few of our trips, but we got to spend time talking with each other. And things then come up, what's going on with the week, check in, but more along the lines of who we are personally and what do we want to do? Do we want to decorate this room a certain way? Do we want to, you know what I mean? There's a lot there in conversation, and those conversations can be deep. Some people may think that that's a surface level conversation where it's well, what do you want to do today? Or how do you want to decorate this room? But those are the things that are important to us. And what do you think? So beyond the coffee date, which is great, coffee, that's always a lot of fun. What are some other things that you like to do?
Well, I think it's just if you want to read into your partner's love language, is it going someplace? Is it just having quiet time together? Is it red box? Getting
red box.
Red, when you see Blockbuster, is it just getting the act of going out and getting that movie,
right,
versus turning Netflix on, of just changing that up. If it's just going and walking around the mall, that food, is it lunch, is it simply going to the driving range, or you like to golf, then I would just come along with you in the golf cart. Just being together. There doesn't have to necessarily always be a related activity, and it doesn't have to cost anything. Going for a walk.
Walks are free.
Yeah,
walks are free. Time in the park is free. Yep. If you got a dog, taking the dog to the dog park, that's free. And involving your children, it's a different situation, and I want to hit on that in my next point. But it's these simple things that work. And then, you can do more elaborate. You can go to dinner. You can make reservations. You can, at times, if you want, once a month or whatever, if you want to get a hotel room and get a night away from the kids, that's understandable too, as long as you have things in place for you to do that. It's having those things without, the other side of it is with date day is not an expectation. There's not an expectation that night or that day. And meaning that we need to talk about this, or we need to do this, or we need to do that. An agenda.
Yeah.
Right. It has to be agenda free, because if there's an agenda, that's no longer a date. more spontaneous things. That is just straight up business work. Whether it's you own your own business or you work for someone, that is just straight up business work. That's check-ins. So you can do a check-in at the end of each night, going over your calendar and what's to come for the next day. But this is completely separate of that. I also like doing things with you that do involve dinner, but sometimes just getting dinner and having it brought to the house, getting it to go and bringing it back to the house, that to me, it kind of sets the tone of what we're doing that evening for that date night. Whether we're going to hang out, just watch a movie, chill. Like, there's other sides of it too. Like, I've heard coaches tell me this too, relationship coaches. Every date, you need to actively date your spouse. Actively date your spouse, which means you have to be doing something for your spouse where it requires activity. And that doesn't have to happen.
But I mean, I think on the grand scheme of things, it could just be checking in. It could just be saying hello. It could be just saying, like, you look great today. You're beautiful. Is there anything that I can help you with? So those things I feel can also be part of that repertoire of dating your spouse. If somebody
leave them a little note.
Yeah. So again, it sounds cheesy, but it's constantly having that, okay, let's think back if you were dating in high school and in college, what were those things that you did? What was kind of like, oh, that surprised me, like that you got that, flowers, you can go to the floral shop, or wildflowers, or you pick something out of your own garden. It's the thought and it's the intention behind it.
Yeah, I think that is exactly what it needs to be. And dating is dating, and it's communicating. When you date somebody, it's all about communication and how you're communicating with them. Now, the next thing we want to talk about is we've went over why it's important, how often, places to go. Now, I want to tie in something here called your children. Should your children be involved on your date day with your spouse?
Absolutely not.
Okay. I agree with that 100%. And that is where a lot of parents out there might get overwhelmed by that statement, because we got our moms that listen to this and they're like, oh my God, these are all the steps I have to take then to get away from my children so I can spend time with my husband.
Kids all go to bed.
Yep.
Eventually. So let's start carving out some windows there.
Yep.
Maybe there's a lunchtime nap. So there's definitely opportunity, because again, we were in that same space. We didn't
always
have a
had children
babysitter.
around.
Always
had children. Well, that's one thing that people don't know is, see, me and Julie, we met in undergrad. We went to grad school, got married 2 years into grad school. We were engaged for 2.5 years. We were engaged within 8 months of dating, starting. Engaged for 2.5 years, got married. You were pregnant about 45, maybe 50 days after we were married. And then from that point forward, Peyton has always been involved in our life. So finding those small times.
So there hasn't been a honeymoon period.
No, there hasn't been a honeymoon period, but we went on a lot of trips. Yeah. But the thing is that we've always found windows to have a date or to spend time with each other. Even if it's when she was down for an hour for a nap or 2 hours for a nap. We found those periods to make sure that we could connect, reconnect, talk, and enjoy each other.
Yep, and those are those windows that you have to find. Like, that's where, if you would think at the other end of a relationship, right? If it's barely like holding on, you're going to want to do anything and everything to be able to keep that relationship there. So what would those things, like, what things would you be doing within that space? So why wouldn't you be constantly working on, building that relationship, making that relationship stronger the entire time? Why do we have to wait for something to happen? Why do we have to wait for something negative to happen or something destructive to happen within that relationship when we could be growing it and building it?
That fits with my thought process today. We had a thought flash during church today, and it was trying to make myself better. And it's like, well, I'm going to make myself better when I do this. I'm going to make myself better when I do that. Like, if you've ever sold a house, and you're going to see where I'm going with this. People always try to bring their house up to date when they sell it. And then they do all these remodels,
And
these
why would you want to
refinishes,
move?
right? These paintings and stuff, and they like paint some walls, and then like, wow, this place is pretty nice now. And too bad we're putting it on the market. And those are the things that you should be doing actively when you were there. You love your house, you love where you live, you love your spouse, you love the person you're involved with. Therefore, show the effort and do the effort now to help better out the situation. You don't wait for something to come crashing down around you. And it's the same thing with anything. So coming back to involving your children in dates. No, you should have dates with your children then.
Absolutely.
Take time with your daughter. Take time with your son. What do? I take time to go do stuff with Brecken. I take time once a weekend to do stuff with Peyton. You see families involved on the weekend. I'm not pulling them out of school to do things because
not opposed.
Well, not opposed to it because I mean seriously, people put way too much onus on school too. Like they got to be in school 5 days a week, yada yada yada. The only reason why they need to be in school 5 days a week is so they don't fall behind.
But that's where for the child as well. Like if you are you have that strong relationship with your child, you can tell when they are stressed out or the emotional toll or like the social world that they live in. That sometimes they need that that yellow card to say like, okay, I need a timeout. And that's where that relationship is super important. And as the parent, you need to be able to see that and to know when to, okay, it's date day today.
Yeah. And I saw a post on Facebook by a good friend of mine that said, as your children get older, you need to spend more time with them. I think a lot of the times in American society as a whole, we try to spend tons of time with them when they're little, when they don't remember shit. And they don't. They do, but they don't. And then as they get bigger, we tend to pull away from them because they become more independent. But that's when you actually need to lean into your children and spend more time with them, have more real conversations with them. Because I'm sorry, but most of us just depend on other people around us to raise our children. They are in a school system 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. They are around somebody else other than us for 40 hours of that week.
It's like who's raising your kids?
Yes. Are you taking an active role in them being, and it's different. It's the same thing in your relationships. And this bothers me and gives me a lot of like passion behind this because this is the time where we need to have more conversations with our children.
Like we're raising our children to be independent of ourselves, but in order for them to have the independence, you just need to be closer and grow closer to them to be able to guide them.
Well, Peyton's been able to wipe her own butt since she was 3. Same with Brecken. And that's where they no longer are dependent on me to wipe their butt.
But their needs are different.
But their needs are different now. And their needs are communication and to grow a strong spiritual child based in Christ and based into a foundation of who they are. Give them the strong morals and foundation of what your family stands for. And then lead them and show them what it's like to be a dad. For my daughter, to lead her and show her what I'm like trying to be a dad for her so she can help pick out a spouse for herself that she loves and can adore. And the same thing for our son with you. And then be able to provide guidance for our son to raise him to be a God-fearing, amazing man that respects women for more than just what they look like and how they look in a dress, and our daughter the same way, to find that value in men around her, to know who's going to support her and actually give her support, like help her be who she's meant to be and not just hold her back.
And it's also being there to allow them to fail.
Yeah.
Because ultimately they have to make their own decisions.
Yep.
But it's knowing that they're going to do some decisions that you're not in agreement with, but that after they've done it, you're still going to be there.
Well, and you have to communicate. You have to communicate. That is the key. So
but if you're not checking in, right?
Date your children. Date them. Take them out. Go have fun. Go on a walk. Go hit golf balls. Throw a football around. Throw a baseball around. Like there's conversations that can happen during those activities too. As long as they're doing stuff with you and the intention is there. Sometimes Peyton likes to go shopping, and I think she just likes to shop and walk around and drive me nuts and not buy anything. And that's okay because she's spending time with us. And trying to watch her, which I find funny, make a decision, which for some reason when they're like 15 to 16, they can't make decisions. It's insane. So my last question then is, when we go through now why it's important to do it, how often you're doing it, what it should entail, dating your children. And the last and most important thing that I think people need to understand is that when you do this stuff, sometimes there doesn't have to be a reciprocation. And what I mean by that is that if I take you on a date, I'm not expecting anything reciprocal coming back. I shouldn't. I just want to spend time with you. I just want to take you somewhere. But do you feel that at times during a date process with like myself or a spouse, do you feel that there's pressure to reciprocate?
As in another date?
As in another date, whether it's sex that evening, relationships that evening, like, do you feel that there's pressure there, or do you feel that at times, like, how do you take that pressure away?
I think if there is the communication that if you are in a marriage, that I think it shouldn't feel like a something of a to-do.
Mm-hmm.
It should just be like something that you want to do.
Yep.
Because again, that communication is setting that foundation. And so maybe the foundation is a little rocky right now. So maybe you'll have to go on a couple of those dates, or dinners at home, or even just cooking together in the kitchen to rekindle something, for there not to feel like an obligation to have to return anything.
I agree 100%. And then how do you make, last and foremost, how do you make these dates really meaningful so they actually mean something? That's the last question.
Being super intentional, like being present in the moment. In the beginning,
doesn't involve this.
No, in the beginning, it may feel kind of like, okay, this is what somebody said. This is what my coach said. This is what they said that we needed to do. On Friday, we're gonna go and we're gonna go do this. Or on Wednesdays, I'm gonna meet you at the gym and we're gonna, start doing a class together. It's gonna feel like a chore. But the more that you actually spend time together, that's when it then turns into, hey, this is actually fun, and you can start to rekindle something.
Finding that intention, right? And I think that is huge. And creating that meaningfulness behind it, actually paying attention to what they're there, and then not expecting anything in return. I think that is massive, just to spend time with each other. And if things do come in return, that's awesome. Whether it's gifts, physical touch, doesn't matter. It's all about that. So I think, in recap of all of this, dating your spouse, 100% necessary. But trying to create a massive event out of every date, not needed. Not needed.
But I mean, if there's a, concert tickets versus like a concert in the park, like you can always like up level something, but then like, because the argument is always, well, I don't have babysitters, or I don't have money.
That's the number one argument, is I don't have a babysitter.
We have a babysitter. We can connect you. We have a network of people. So we need to stop making excuses for different things, because when your relationship is on the rocks, are you going to make an excuse?
And yes,
or are you going to dive in?
And yes, you can find time, because find the 20 to 30 minutes you sit on your cell phone, or maybe 2 hours at night when you're not conversing. That could be an amazing time that you could just spend with each other and talk. This has been a really good one. I love this one. This one is awesome, because we always say that Sundays are for Jesus and podcasting. And this one involves a relationship on all sides of things. So, Dr. Julie, do you have anything else you want to add to this?
No, I'm just excited for Legacy Life Media Studios and all of the things that are going to happen within this.
Well, what do we got coming? We've got Prime Podcast, which is going to be very, very office-based here very shortly, around full-on health. And this, again, this is relationship, emotional health, so we're going to hit on all things. Number 2, we've got What's Up Green Bay. That's going to be rolling out shortly, probably within the next, shortly, 6 to 8 weeks. And then Living with Skip and Julie. And that one's going to be a lot of fun. All brought to you right here out of this incredible studio. So if you guys can do us all a favor, share this. If you found this very informational, share this with your friends. Smash that thumbs up below here on our YouTube channel. And if you need any links or anything, it's always down in the show notes, whether it's the standard process working with us or just sharing this to as many people as possible. So we appreciate every one of you. Now go out there, get it done. Take care, everybody. We love you. Bye, everyone.